from Watsonville. We like their show. Thank you.
Welcome, COPA leaders and guests to the 20th anniversary convention of COPA.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Zárate, líder de Mujeres en Acción. Bienvenidos, líderes e invitados de COPA a la convención del 20 aniversario de COPA.
My friend Maria and I will be doing the briefing and laying the ground rules ahead of our formal start in 10 minutes. The briefing will be done in English and Spanish. The rest of the meeting will be bilingual, so if you speak only English, make sure you have a headset and tune the channel to.
El diácono Patrick y yo haremos la sección informativa y estableceremos las reglas básicas antes de nuestro inicio formal, en unos 10 minutos aproximadamente. Esta información se realizará en inglés y en español. El resto de la reunión será bilingüe. Así que si solo hablas español, asegúrate de tener los audífonos contigo.
My relationship with COPA goes all the way back to the grand parent organization, Monterey Bay Organizing Project. Back in 1997, the organizer Ken Smith came to see me and told me about the organizing efforts in our area. I was very happy to hear that and got our pastor, Father Peter Pajaro, and other leaders from our church to go to meetings with other organizations to start planning to build this organization. We also talked to our bishop, Bishop Sylvester Ryan, who will be with us today, and head of Catholic Charities then, Martino Sullivan, is also here today. And they came together with other institutional leaders to start the Central Coast Organizing Partners, which in the 2000, 3 years later, in 2003, COPA was formed.
Yo soy madre de familia de 4 niños. Cuando llegué a COPA, creí que lo que necesitaban era público para sus reuniones. Después entendí que es un lugar donde puedes desarrollar tu liderazgo y a la vez apoyar a la sociedad. Hoy decidí estar aquí porque sé lo importante que es demostrar el poder de las personas organizadas y eso es lo que hace COPA desde hace 20 años. Nosotros conocemos cuáles son nuestras necesidades y preocupaciones, por eso debemos estar en los espacios donde se toman las decisiones que afectan nuestras vidas. Y hoy este es el lugar para que yo elegí.
It's been a joy and inspiration to watch COPA grow from birth to adulthood over these 20 years. Because of COPA, the community that we have built, we've created, I am filled with hope for the future here on the Central Coast. Over the course of the next 2 hours, we hope to give you a good image of what COPA is and what we mean when we say we're going to do public business.
En el transcurso de las próximas 2 horas, esperamos darle una buena imagen de lo que es COPA y de lo que queremos decir cuando decimos que vamos a hacer negocios públicos.
Your chairpersons for this event will be Maria Elena Manso of Mujeres en Acción and Pastor John Song of Watsonville First United Methodist Church. They are leading this public meeting, and Harry Nagel will keep time.
Sus codirigentes de este evento serán la señora María Elena Manso de Mujeres en Acción y el pastor John Song de la Iglesia Metodista Unida de Watsonville. Ellos estarán dirigiendo esta reunión pública.
When we start, we'll begin with a roll call of our institutional members and guests.
Cuando comencemos, empezaremos pasando lista de nuestros miembros institucionales e invitados.
Remember, we're an organization of institutions, not individuals. We belong to congregations, unions, schools, nonprofits, and health centers. We have power because we act as groups of organized people working together. So when you hear your institution name, make some noise. So we're going to show you how that works. I'm going to call on my own church. Let's hear it from the Resurrection Catholic Community.
a iglesias, sindicatos, escuelas, organizaciones sin fines de lucro y centros de salud. Tenemos poder porque actuamos como grupos de personas organizadas que trabajan juntas. Entonces, cuando escuche el nombre de su institución, haga ruido. Vamos a practicar. ¡Mujeres en acción!
After that, we'll have our focus and prayer before getting into the victories from 20 years of organizing on the Central Coast. These are your victories, so make sure to be loud and proud when you hear about them. This will lead into our external issues business. Importantly, we will have political and business guests speak during this period. You'll hear from Mayor Keeley of Santa Cruz, who will invite us to help shape a bond. This would mean we get the chance to build much more affordable housing in Santa Cruz. We'll get a similar commitment from Superintendent of Monterey Unified School District when he announces his plans for a teaching housing fund. These commitments have the potential to totally change housing realities in our region. We'll also hear from our leaders in Pajaro about our work there, and from Supervisor Glenn Church about the next steps. Lastly, we'll hear from COPA leaders and Joby Aviation executives about workforce development in the region. We work with Joby to help them find apprentices who can earn as they learn a new trade. This is our meeting. We cheer for their commitments to work with us, not for the guests themselves. We also have carefully worked out with and carefully worded these officials' commitments to us. We want to hear loud, clear yeses.
Después tendremos nuestro enfoque y oración antes de adentrarnos en las victorias de 20 años de la organización en la costa central. Esto conducirá a nuestro negocio de asuntos externos. Es importante destacar que tendremos invitados políticos y de negocios que hablarán durante este periodo. Escucharán al alcalde de Santa Cruz que nos invitará a ayudarnos a formar un bono. Esto significa la oportunidad de crear mucha más vivienda accesible en Santa Cruz. También obtendremos un compromiso similar del superintendente del Distrito Escolar Unificado de Monterrey cuando anuncie sus planes de un bono de viviendas para nuestros maestros. Estos compromisos tienen el potencial de cambiar totalmente la realidad de vivienda en nuestra región. Escucharemos a nuestros líderes de Pajaro acerca de lo que están haciendo ahí. También escucharemos al supervisor Glenn Church hablar de sus próximos pasos. Por último, escucharemos a los líderes de COPA y ejecutivos de Joby Aviación acerca del desarrollo de la fuerza laboral en la región. Hemos trabajado con Joby para ayudarlos a encontrar aprendices que puedan ganar mientras aprenden una nueva profesión. Esta es nuestra reunión. Esperamos por sus compromisos de trabajo con nosotros, no por los de nuestros invitados.
We have power because we have committed to work together. There are about 500 of us here today from more than 30 different institutions. We've been working together for 20 years, and we need to renew the covenant we made around social justice 20 years ago. We'll have institutions come forward and publicly state their commitment to COPA. Some new institutions will join COPA, and we want to give them a warm welcome.
Tenemos el poder porque estamos comprometidos a trabajar juntos. Estamos aquí, más de 50 líderes, esta noche de 30 diferentes instituciones. Hemos trabajado juntos por más de 20 años y necesitamos renovar el compromiso que hicimos de justicia social 20 años atrás. Tenemos instituciones que vienen a renovar y otras que se unieron a COPA y les daremos la bienvenida.
We'll close by talking about two things that give us the power to act independently on our own interests: independent money raising and our training strategy for the next year. If you want to get involved or help keep COPA independent, pay careful attention during this part as well, as we announce our training dates and our money strategy. Before you leave here tonight, make sure you fill out a commitment card and talk to your institutional captain. 500 engaged people can do incredible things on the Central Coast.
Terminaremos renovando nuestro convenio mutuo y planificando nuestra estrategia de desarrollo de liderazgo para el próximo año.
This wraps up our briefing. Let us now welcome our chairpersons and special guests.
Con esto concluimos la sección informativa. Le damos la bienvenida a nuestros codirigentes e invitados especiales.
Me llamo Pastor Juan Cancion. Hi y'all, I am Pastor John Saul from Watsonville United Methodist Church.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Marilena Manso, directora de Mujeres en Acción. Nosotros somos los codirigentes de esta convención. Bienvenidos, welcome to the 20th anniversary of communities organized for Relational Power in Action.
We will begin tonight with a prayer from Bishop Emeritus Sylvester Ryan of the Catholic Diocese of Monterey.
Oh God, we address ourselves to you. Our God, who is everywhere, the Father, God always with us, the Son, and God who is within us, the Holy Spirit. So borrowing the words of St. Paul, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who encourages us in our every affliction, so that we may encourage those who are afflicted with the encouragement with which we ourselves are encouraged. Again, blessed be God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who encourages us in every affliction so that we may encourage those who are afflicted with the encouragement with which we ourselves are encouraged. As we continuously learn, our baptismal grace is enlivened through service to those in need, and expands stubbornly, enduringly, when shared. So hear our prayers toward all our worthy and dearly needed purposes in all those we encounter. Sisters and brothers, human beings, all of them. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Ryan. We are an organization of institutions. Before we go any further, we need to acknowledge the most important part of this meeting, the people we have in the room.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Reyes de Mujeres en Acción. Somos miembros de COPA desde el 2020. Hoy tenemos 100 personas.
Buenas tardes, yo me llamo Martín, I'm from Sacred Heart, Salinas, and we've been with the founding members of COPA since 2003, and we have 35 leaders tonight. 35.
Laura Nagel from Unitarian Universalist Church in the Monterey Peninsula, proud members of COPA since 2017. Happy to have 9 of our members here today.
We're proud members of COPA and have been serving since 2010. Very pleased about 7 of our leaders.
Today we have 20 leaders.
My name is Daniela Rania of Central Center for Independent Living Cecil, serving the community with disabilities. We are proud members of COPA since 2023.
My name is Ellen Young from St. Mary's by the Sea Episcopal Church. We are proud founding members of COPA since 2003, and today we have 26 leaders present.
Mi nombre es Meli Reyes, soy miembro de COPA desde 2018, somos 4 miembros.
Here with Resurrection Catholic Church, a founding member since 2003, with a delegation of 10. Yay!
My name is Chuck Torrey. I'm here with one other fellow leader from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Santa Cruz County. Our fellowship was a proud founder of COPA in 2003.
My name is Alice Davidson of the Santa Cruz Community Health. We are proud members of COPA since 2020. Today we have 4 leaders.
My name is Andrea Manso. I'm with Building Healthy Communities, Monterey County. We've been proud members since 2016, and we're here with 15 leaders!
My name is Lillian Thomas from Peace United Church of Christ, a proud founding member of COPA who joined in 2003. We are 21 leaders strong.
My name is Andrew Bernabé of First United Methodist Church. We're proud founding members of COPA since 2003. Today we have 5 leaders.
Soy Olga Díaz de Nuestra Señora de la Asunción en Pajaro, en Watsonville. Somos miembros de COPA desde 2008 y están aquí 27 líderes esta tarde.
Hi, my name is Andrew Goldfrance from Temple Bethel and Aptos. We are proud founding members since 2003, and we have 5 leaders and 2 guests here today.
My name is Jan Lindenthal Cox with Unity of Monterey Bay. We have been proud members of COPA since 2016, and we are 40 leaders strong today.
I want to acknowledge tonight those institutions joined by allies and officials, and these institutions are St. John the Baptist Catholic Church, Our Lady of Refuge Catholic Church, Holy Cross Catholic Church, Holy Trinity Catholic Church, St. Mary's Catholic Church, Star of the Sea Catholic Church, All Saints Episcopal, Watsonville, Centro Pianacianan para el Desarrollo Indígena Oaxaqueño. St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Our Lady of Solitude Catholic Church, First Five Monterey County, Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative, Action Council of Monterey County, Monterey Bay Economic Partnership, Senderos, Catholic Diocese of Monterey, Joby Aviation, Meade Peninsula Housing, and we are joined by our IAF sister organizations from Silicon Valley Sponsoring Committee, Marine Organizing Committee, Common Ground Solano County, Central Valley IAF Sponsoring Committee.
Supervisor Wayne Church, Monterey County District 2. Supervisor Wendy Askew, Monterey County District 4. Supervisor Mary Adams, Monterey County District 5. Major Tyler Williamson, City of Monterey. Major Ian Oglesby, City of Seaside. Major Fred Keeley, City of Santa Cruz. Council Member Sandy Brown, City of Santa Cruz. Council Member Sonia Brunner, City of Santa Cruz. Council Member Alexander Peterson, City of Capitola. Council Member Joe Clark, City of Capitola. Council Member Crystal Salcido, City of Watsonville. From the following offices: Congressman Jimmy Panetta, State Assembly Member Robert Rivas, Supervisor Zach Fred, Santa Cruz County District 2, Supervisor Chris Lopez, Monterey County District 3, Supervisor Manuel Cohen, Santa Cruz District 1, Supervisor Justin Cummings, Santa Cruz County District 3. Thank you for being here. One more big round of applause. Let's make another noise.
Golden State Warriors slogan is strength in numbers. Although their aspiration hasn't quite achieved this season, but nevertheless, there is a strength in numbers, and that's who we are. And so I would like to introduce Reverend Vicki Elder of Unity Church and Pastor James Lapp of St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, who will focus on our meeting.
When I arrived in Santa Cruz 27 years ago, the Pajaro River had just flooded. It had caused over $2.5 million in damage, mostly to immigrant farm worker families. My colleague, Reverend Michael Wilker, pastor at Lutheran Community Church in Watsonville, was deeply involved in helping the Pajaro community recover. And about the same time, in our own church, we had a young family who had their rent raised so high, they were forced to leave their home with their 2 young children, despite both having full-time employment, and they lived in a trailer in our church parking lot. Pastor Wilker and I met several times after this, and we would talk about how wrong it was that many of the Pajaro residents had no access to the resources necessary to rebuild their homes, take care of their families after the flood. And we also talked about how so many young families who had been raised in these communities had no hope of staying because of the lack of affordable housing, and were now living in trailers in our parking lots. We reflected on how little power we had to really make a difference about these longer-term solutions in our communities because we were just two small churches. However, a few years earlier, in our seminary training, we had learned of churches like ours, little churches, organizing together around issues of injustice like we were experiencing. So we wrote to our bishop's office and we applied for a small grant to begin building such an organization of many other organizations that would not be ignored like our churches had been. We received $10,000 and we contacted the Industrial Areas Foundation, who had helped build these kinds of organizations in other communities. With the help of our new organizer, we set about the work of meeting with many local clergy, nonprofit leaders in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. We found many of the same stories about the lack of power to address the injustices that our people were experiencing, especially with regard to affordable housing, immigration, access to adequate health care, better educational and economic opportunities, and public safety. Then we held a retreat at San Juan Bautista, and we entered into an agreement or a covenant with the IAF to form the Monterey Bay Organizing Project. This led to the formation of the bishop-led Central Coast Interfaith Sponsors. And then finally, with over 1,000 people at the Fox Theater in Salinas, you saw that photo as you came in today, in June of 2003, 20 years ago, Communities Organized for Relational Power in Action was formed. Some of our earlier successes were getting Santa Cruz County to approve its first housing element in over 20 years. This plan, this long-delayed plan, designated actual sites for low-income housing, including Atkinson Lane in Watsonville, Aptos Blue, and our own St. Stephen's Senior Housing, which were all built with tens of millions of dollars of public money. One time we also preserved over 100 Section 8 apartment units when the owner threatened to raise the rents to market rate. All we did was write the owner a letter, list all the organizations in COPA, and he changed his mind. A new facility was built for the Live Oak Family Resource Center. A new youth center was built on the campus of a local middle school. These are just a few of the success stories from my own neighborhood. You will hear more about these successes coming up, but these stories remind us of what is really possible when we organize our institutions for power for the common good. At this time, before my sister here speaks, I want to particularly recognize the importance of our relationships with the IAF in the history of COPA as I've outlined it. While the work of COPA and the successes we have had are the results of many volunteer leaders in our institutions taking effective action together, our IAF organizers along the way have trained and mentored us, and in many cases spotted something special in us that we may not have seen in ourselves as leaders. At this time, I want to recognize the IAF organizers, some of whom are here today. I invite them to stand if they're here, as they are the ones who have helped us build, sustain, and grow COPA. Please hold your applause until all are named. That one organizer that I mentioned way back in 1998 or so, our founding lead organizer, Ken Smith. Carol Margaret Meister, Sister Pearl Cesar, Joaquin Sanchez, Tim McManus, Beatriz Trujillo, Andres Arias, Maya Bernabé, and Eli Holiday. Let's give them all.
Thank you, Pastor Jim. I'm Vicki Elder, pastor of Unity of Monterey Bay and a COPA leader. In COPA, we've been discussing the importance of covenant to the overall health of our institutions, our communities, and our society at large. A decade ago, in his article, How Covenants Make Us, New York Times writer David Brooks suggested that modern forces like the internet, while perhaps being liberating for individuals, have been bad for our nation's social fabric. And just this month, in an advisory on an epidemic of loneliness, the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Civic indicates that things have only gotten worse since then. He explained, when we are less invested in one another, we are more susceptible to polarization and less able to pull together to face the challenges that we cannot solve alone. From climate change and gun violence to economic inequality and future pandemics. This epidemic of loneliness and isolation has been building for decades, fueling individuals and collective problems that are literally killing us and threatening to rip our nation apart. The answer, according to Murphy, is recreating a culture of connection, which echoes Brooks' prediction that our social fabric will be repaired by hundreds of millions of people making local covenants. But what does that actually look like? As I've come to understand covenant in the public realm, it means going above and beyond the social contract that establishes our state, government, and laws that bind us, by widening our circles of attachment across income, social, cultural, religious, and racial divides, and creating moral commitments to one another with shared values and ideals that compel us to work together despite our differences for the common good. In other words, covenants exist between people who understand that they are part of one another, making vows sealed with love. It reminds me of the ancient Hebrew story from the book of Ruth, where though they had come from different backgrounds and religions and had lost their legal relationship with the deaths of their husbands, Ruth nevertheless promises her mother-in-law Naomi, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. This is what COPA and the IAF are all about. Our COPA work helps our diverse institutions widen our circles of attachment by joining in covenant with one another and with COPA to form meaningful public relationships forged in one-on-one connections, house meetings, shared public actions, and a commitment to work together for the common good. I know I'm not alone in saying that COPA has inspired and changed me as a person and as a spiritual leader. It has helped our Unity community put feet to our faith and grow in our capacity to truly know and love our neighbors in powerful and practical ways. Tonight we celebrate COPA's 20-year legacy of covenant-based community action that continues to support the common good and strengthen the social fabric of Santa Cruz and Monterey counties, as well as our nation as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Zach and Reverend Vicky. What happens when you get here early and we forget to say your name because we think you're family. So I want to welcome PK Differinga, Superintendent of the Monterey Unified School District. También tenemos un anuncio en mixteco.
Let's put on a y yo audífonos chazo ondo tocar de audífono yo con esto ondo la chatota información tashna da adosa y suli guzmana lira ya bendición tanya speaker yo na letra C na Chicago tanya itakunonya con esto ondo la kukoni kachi información tashna da ada Vendonda ninonda adon yo kuno ko audífono racha hashika y compañera tashna audífono da adon vendon.
Thank you. También tenemos muchos dispositivos para escuchar la traducción. Si no recibieron uno, por favor levanten sus manos para llevárselo. Over 20 years, COPA leaders have been building the civic capacity to create the common good. We've kept libraries open in Salinas and paved the way for more than 300 units of affordable housing. We have reduced gang violence and participation and worked to increase trust between the community and the Watsonville Police Department. We organized to build the Live Oak Family Resource Center and work tireless around healthcare. We have involved Esperanza Care, a full-scope healthcare program in Monterey County for nearly 5,000 uninsured and undocumented residents, and the Vida Project, which employed over 100 community health workers to stop the spread of COVID and reopen our economy. These are only a few of COPA's accomplishments. What made that possible, and it is at the core of our work, is the development of leaders. Let's hear from some of them.
Hello, my name is Sally Torres, a COPA leader from Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Salinas. In 2005, the city of Salinas was in a budget crisis. We worked on Measure B, a sales tax initiative to save the libraries and to keep the police and fire department and recreation centers into full capacity. We organized hundreds of our members and parishioners to do a door-to-door campaign to get out the vote, and in the process also registered many young voters. Although there was a recession, the voters passed Measure B, bringing in $10 million to the city of Salinas. The leadership and organizing skills I learned in COPA gave me the confidence to join with Mayor Ana Caballero and other community agency leaders to work on this action. My leadership was recognized by city leaders, and I was elected chairperson of the Oversight Committee for these funds.
One of our proudest accomplishments is the Vida Project. When COVID was raging through the neighborhoods of the essential farm workers, COPA proposed a $5 million community health workers strategy to reduce the spread of infection to the County Board of Supervisors by hiring 100 community health workers as trusted voice in the neighborhood. These health workers succeeded in getting large numbers of people tested and vaccinated, enabling our economy to reopen. Maricela Acevedo is one of those helpers.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Maricela Acevedo y yo pertenezco a la Iglesia de San Juan Bautista en King City y a Mujeres en Acción. Mi trabajo ha sido el campo por 13 años, pero hace 2 años, gracias a la pandemia y a Mujeres en Acción, se me dio la oportunidad de ser una trabajadora comunitaria, lo cual transformó mi vida porque principalmente mejoró mi salario y los beneficios que me ofrecían en el campo. Y también aprendí a utilizar una computadora, un correo electrónico, una tableta. Aprendí también a conocer las necesidades en mi comunidad y a relacionarme y a desenvolverme en ella, porque era algo que me costaba mucho a mí hacer. Gracias a esto se logró que la Iglesia de San Juan Bautista se hiciera miembro con COPA. En mi parroquia se iba a hacer un retiro Esto fue con el anterior sacerdote, con el padre Lucas, y iban a ser alrededor de 200 mujeres. Y yo, siendo trabajadora comunitaria, le dije al padre si no quería que hiciéramos pruebas de COVID. Él aceptó porque el retiro era de 3 días y íbamos a estar las mujeres sobre el mismo techo. Y tuvimos un caso positivo. Gracias a este trabajo evitamos el contagio de muchas mujeres y muchas familias. También hemos estado trabajando mucho con los trabajadores del campo en diferentes aspectos, con información, con ayudas, con recursos que tiene la comunidad. Se logró también un grupo pequeño de líderes en nuestra parroquia y también seguimos actualmente trabajando con nuestro sacerdote, el padre Rodríguez, al que le quiero agradecer por haber hecho un espacio para poder estar aquí con nosotros en esta convención representando nuestra parroquia. Muchas gracias.
Mi nombre es Carlos Romero, líder de COPA de la iglesia Holy Cross. Fui residente de Laivo por más de 20 años. Mi madre Gloria fue una de las líderes activas de la iglesia durante el comité del patrocinio. Era muy conocida y tenía muchas relaciones. Aunque ella no sabía mucho inglés, se mostró segura y relacional, lo que me llamó la atención. No fue hasta el 2007 cuando tuve la oportunidad de involucrarme. En ese momento, la afiliación de pandillas, el uso de drogas y la violencia entre los jóvenes del Laivo estaba en su punto más alto. En el transcurso de 18 meses, COPA trabajó con el distrito escolar y el departamento de Civic. Tuvimos 1000 conversaciones con residentes para traer estas preocupaciones al frente. Logramos traer un centro de recursos familiares, una serie de ligas deportivas juveniles y un club de niños y niñas para mantener a los niños alejados de la calle. Gracias a esta experiencia pude crear una red de apoyo y conocí la importancia de organizar. Tengo la confianza y la habilidad de expresarme en frente de muchas personas, incluso políticos. Gracias.
When COPA began organizing in Laivo, there was little infrastructure in place to support the families. As you heard from Carlos, we were able to change that reality, and more advances have followed. One important one is the Laivo branch of the Santa Cruz Health Center.
Hello, my name is Leslie Connor. I'm CEO of Santa Cruz Community Health, a nonprofit provider of comprehensive health services to over 12,000 people a year, regardless of their ability to pay. We provide care based on the best of what science and human compassion dictate. This is our 3rd year as a member of COPA, and we couldn't be more excited to continue our partnership. For the last 2 years, we've worked closely with Myra Bernabe, COPA organizer, to develop a patient advisory committee. Our vision for this committee is to develop deeper, more authentic relationships with the people we serve so we can serve them better. So they are not other to be healed, but partners in the healing process. This experience has been transformative. We've seen how COPA's organizing model has developed the skills of new leaders so their voices can be heard. It has been liberating for the clinic to share power with our patients so that together we can address other factors that influence their health beyond medical care, like housing, economic opportunity, and emotional health. For me personally, this journey has been a reminder that by recognizing our shared humanity, our community can join together and real change can happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Monterey County Supervisor Mary Adams, will you join me?
I'm so happy to see the Golden State Theater filled with people who all have the same mission. And that mission is one that I share with you, which is just to work to make people's lives better. I'm so thankful to see so many people here who have given me the strength in my role as Board of Supervisors, the courage to continue to push forward for things, because I know that you stand behind me and I know where you stand. I'm here to thank you so much, particularly for the work that you did in ensuring that COVID was stopped in Monterey County. You've heard from others talking about this, but I just have to tell you that I saw this up front and personal in our county. I fought hard because I believe in you, because I believed in COPA, and I believed in the VITA program that was brought forward to be able to send people out on the streets to talk to them in their homes, people whom they trusted, to be able to let them know what they had to do to stop the spread of COVID. And it worked. It worked. Our county has received numerous awards because of the way we were able to stop the spread of COVID. And it's due to you, so I thank you for that. And for me to be able to stand here tonight and congratulate you on your 20 years of communities organized for relational power and action is a real honor. I know that we have a lot more work to do. If we were able to stop COVID, we will be able to move forward and ensure that all of us in our county have jobs that provide income that will allow for us to have housing. Housing is the most critical issue that we face in our county today. I believe in you. I hope you will put your trust in us as government people to be able to work together so that we can come up with solutions so everyone can live with dignity and comfort. Thank you so much.
We are a broad, relationship-based organization with long tentacles like octopus. Those relationships allow us to tackle a variety of issues at the same time. And guess what? One of these issues is housing. And I'd like to invite Mr. Andrew Goldenkrantz from Temple Bethel in Aptos.
Hi, my name is Andrew Goldenkrantz. I'm a COPA leader from Temple Bethel in Aptos. I'll never forget the time we were first approached to join COPA back in 2000, and I went to talk to our rabbis about it, and they asked me one simple question. They said, remember the part about are we our brother's keeper? And what was the answer? Are we our brother's keeper? Yes. And they said, okay, that's it, we're in. And it's been going on ever since. When we started in COPA, it was easy to talk about housing. There were a lot of people talking about housing and the problems that we're facing in our communities. But we found out quickly that talking was not enough, there wasn't enough action. We have to engage in real concrete action with our public officials in order to improve our lives. So the data about housing affordability and availability starts with real people and real stories.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Gloria Palomo. Soy miembro de la iglesia de Holy Cross y líder de COPA. Yo trabajé para mi esposo que tenía Parkinson y demencia por 22 años en la compañía de IHC y él murió el 29 de enero de este año. Y como vivía en el apartamento de Housing Authority de sección 8 y fui a preguntar que si podía seguir viviendo ahí, me dijeron que no podía. Y entonces pregunté por mi aplicación que yo había metido hace 4 años y me dijeron que lo sentían mucho porque la línea que iban en el número 3000. Yo llevo el número 11,850. Y pues tendré que esperar otros 5 o 6 años para que me puedan dar un apartamento de bajos ingresos. Yo para rentar un apartamento no puedo porque tengo que tener un ingreso de $7,500 por mes. Y apenas me empecé a trabajar y tengo solo 100 horas al mes. Ahora estoy viviendo en una sala en compañía de mis familias
y tuve que rentar un storage para poner mis cosas personales. Y quisiera pedirles a los encargados de estas compañías que por favor tengan más compasión en las necesidades que estamos viviendo todas las familias en estos momentos. Muchas gracias.
My name is Robin Falkenberg, and I'm a special education teacher here in our local school district, and I'm currently in my 10th year with the district. I'm here today to share a little of my story with you. I love my job. I love my students. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. I look at them as part of my extended family. The problem is the cost of housing. The average cost of a home in Monterey County is $850,000. I have been a solo parent for years and found it very difficult to support my children alone, not even considering a mortgage payment. Owning my own home was always my dream, but it always seemed to be just that, a dream. Today, both of my children are adults. My son is serving in the U.S. Army, fulfilling his mission and commitment to our country. I share a rented home with my daughter, her fiance, his adult son from a previous marriage, and their 2 young boys, both under 3. Rent for a 4-bedroom home averages about $4,500. There's no way I can afford to live on my own with the prices so high in this area. I still dream of being a homeowner, but that dream is starting to fade. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Robin. When we started organizing 20 years ago, Santa Cruz County did not even have a certified housing element. We organized and over time paved the way for hundreds of units of below market rate housing for our communities. We organized support for construction of 57 affordable units along with a medical and dental clinic in Santa Cruz. We helped organize for approval of 125 units of low-income housing in downtown Santa Cruz, 40 units of senior housing at COPA member St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, and a 65-unit project currently under construction at COPA member Calvary Episcopal Church. We should celebrate those achievements. Now, our 2 counties and cities within the counties need to make plans for, wait for it, 33,000 units of housing to improve life for our members and neighbors over the next 7 years. This year, COPA organized 6 civic academies in our region to learn about the housing element. We heard stories from over 500 of our people in these gatherings. With these stories in mind, we presented our recommendations starting with the city of Santa Cruz, which is responsible for 4,000 of the units that I mentioned. The city has committed to build more new housing, which is great, but we also need to find new revenue for housing and keep people housed by strengthening programs to support renters. Mayor Fred Keeley of Santa Cruz, please come and join me. Thank you for being here. And we have Council Member Sonia Bruder. We're glad to have you. Mayor Keeley, Council Member Bruder, will you and your Housing Element Subcommittee meet with us in June and continue to work with us to review COPA's tenant protection and renter support proposals?
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, COPA, so much. Santa Cruz, thank you. Santa Cruz is the 2nd least affordable housing market in the United States of America. Pause with that thought. What that means is that the median income and the median price of renting or purchasing a home is farther apart than any other community except for Manhattan, New York. This is the most expensive community in terms of the disparity between how much people make and how much it costs to get housing. So what Sonia Bruner and I are going to do, and our colleagues, and we're doing it with you, we're having 3 public meetings. We had one Thursday, we're having another one next Thursday, another one the next Wednesday, and the public, with COPA, with our community, we are building a funding measure for the March 2024 ballot for affordable housing and homelessness in terms of permanent supportive housing, and we would love to partner with you.
Thank you for working with us, COPA. I know that we always have a lot of groups. It takes a lot of collaboration, and the work that COPA has given us is instrumental in us forming the policies that help our community. Thank you.
Well, you heard their proposal. It's not up to me. It's up to you. COPA leaders, do we want to work in partnership with the mayor and his team to determine if this is a winnable issue for COPA to take on? Something we want to take on seriously. Sounds like we have a partnership. Okay, COPA's housing team will attend upcoming meetings with the mayor's team to deliberate. If you want to be involved in the housing team, you'll be given a chance to sign up at the close of the meeting. Thanks so much. Marianne, to you.
Thank you. I'm Marianne Boylan from Unity of Monterey Bay. Mayor Williamson here, please join me. I want to say I appreciate so much for you being here today, especially on a Saturday, right? Interesting, I met you nearly 7 years ago at a COPA Civic Academy on immigration. And here we are today, meeting you as mayor of the city of Monterey. COPA has heard hundreds of stories and continue to hear about pressures on renters. We understand this is your #1 issue as mayor here in the city. COPA's plan is to organize hundreds of conversations through house meetings, civic academies on the topic of rental protections this summer and beyond. Will you agree to meet with COPA in September to hear our proposals for how the city of Monterey can support tenants and negotiate a plan with us before you schedule a vote in the city council?
Yes. So I just want to reflect on some of the thoughts that I heard earlier from the pastors when they were speaking about COPA and the power that you all have in the Santa Cruz housing element to show up, and I think you were talking about a renter and they were talking about increasing the rents. And you put all the organizations involved in COPA in front of them and they decided to keep rents the same. That shows you that there are power in numbers. Your voice matters. So you need to show up to council meetings, you need to show up to board of supervisor meetings and share your voice. Because I guarantee you, those that don't want to change anything will show up and they will demand things stay the same. And so in the city of Monterey, we are focused on issues as they relate to renters. The issues as they relate to creating housing are important too. We need to create more housing stock because that will help stabilize the cost of housing. But in the meantime, that's going to take a long time. So in the meantime, we need to make sure that we're taking care of renters. So in the city of Monterey, we're committed to looking at developing a rental registry so that we can collect data and make policy decisions to protect renters. And even further, we want to create renter protections. And so with that process, we need to hear your voice. We need people to show up to the city and share that your stories and your perspectives. Somebody was standing here earlier and was sharing the experience of having to have income limit requirements. A lot of people aren't even able to get into a rental unit anymore. And so we need to be able to create policies at the city level to make sure that people that work and live within our communities can afford the cost of living here. So I need all your And I'll say one last point, which is, I know that it's scary for renters to show up and share their opinion, but we want to make sure that we create a space where you can share it anonymously so that you can feel protected and not feel at risk of losing your home.
We look forward to working with you in the future, and I hope that you look forward to working with us as well.
I love you, COPA.
My name is Jan Lindenthal Cox with Unity of Monterey Bay. Welcome, Superintendent Pajaro. We've heard through our one-on-one conversations with you how important affordable housing is to you and to the district. Can you tell us why? How does the lack of affordable housing in our community impact your staff and your students?
Absolutely. Quiero decir gracias por su invitación y me gustaría hablar solo en español, pero mi español no es tan bueno, entonces hablar en inglés, pero quiero decir que ustedes son una inspiración para mí. The lack of affordable housing affects us in two ways. One, about 22% of our students are considered homeless under the McKinney-Vento Act. And that means over 2,000 students in our district do not have a stable home. They are living 2 to 3 to 4 families per home. And so you think of the impact that has on their ability to come to school ready to learn and their opportunity for success, it's a major impact. Secondly, this is my 9th year as superintendent, and each year we have hired over 100 teachers, which makes up about 20% of our teaching force. And the majority cited reason is the high cost of living on the peninsula, especially the cost of housing. So we are both dealing with the challenge that many of our students come to school with and not able to staff our schools with experienced, well-qualified teachers in order to meet that challenge. And so that makes it very, very difficult for us to grow and be the type of district that we want to be in order to best serve our students.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. As you know, COPA has identified affordable housing as one of the 3 key issues that we want to work on. Will you work with COPA to expand affordable and accessible housing and protect renters in our community?
Absolutely, 100% yes. Juntos salvemos adelante. I would just like to ask, would COPA be willing to support the district should our school board put a bond on the ballot for affordable housing for teachers and staff? Would you be behind us and work to get out the vote so that people can afford to live and put in roots in the community in which they serve?
What do we think? I can't hear you. We would love to work with you to advance the affordable housing issues that you just talked about. And our housing strategy team would love to meet with you on June 16th to continue this conversation and our work together.
Adelante.
Our second issue is our work around workforce development throughout the region. And we have special guests from Joby Aviation today here. Mujeres en Acción en COPA are part of Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative, SIDE for short, an initiative funded by the Urban Foundation through the Community Foundation of Monterey County. That's when I first heard about Joby Aviation, a company based in Santa Cruz. Joby makes electric airplanes that will soon be used to shuttle people to where they need to be. Similar to how a taxi works, but this will be taxis in the air. Making this aircraft requires unique skills where people can make good living and move up in their careers. The new technology has the promise to create hundreds of jobs to build the airplanes and to fly them. Joby needs talented coworkers eager to learn something new to make this company succeed. This is a win-win relationship. In August, COPA learned that Joby was recruiting for an apprenticeship program where workers could earn while learning, to get on-the-job training to build airplanes in Marina. Mujeres en Acción immediately went to work, identifying people we knew who would be a good fit for that. Very quickly, we found 3 people for these jobs. Claudia Hernandez found one of those people.
Mi nombre es Claudia Hernández, soy líder de COPA con Mujeres en Acción en Salinas y la Iglesia Santa María. Soy madre de 5 hijos. Yo me di cuenta de que Joby estaba contratando por medio de Mujeres en Acción. Se lo comenté a mi hijo, él mostró interés en aprender algo nuevo. Mi hijo es un joven de 21 años a quien le gusta mucho la mecánica, pero no había surgido la oportunidad para demostrar su talento. Con Joby no solamente ha podido demostrar su talento, sino que ha crecido su confianza en sí mismo. Gracias a la motivación y reconocimiento de Joby por su trabajo, él entró como aprendiz, ahora ya está contratado por Joby. Como mamá, me siento cada vez más orgullosa de ver cómo ha estado creciendo y descubriendo su interés no solo en carros, sino en aviones también. Ahora ya invitó a su hermano para que aplique y pueda descubrir cosas nuevas para su crecimiento y la oportunidad en los jóvenes que da Joby. Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Foster more opportunities like this to build a more equitable economy. There are many other people out there in our community who are responsible, smart, hardworking, and who need a better job. COPA and our member institutions have an important role to play in this kind of economic development. Connecting the people we know with good employers, and Joby Aviation is one example of this. Here from Joby Aviation is the Manager of Workforce Development, Cody Cleverly. Mr. Cleverly, would you join me, please? Mr. Cleverly, economic prosperity in our region will depend on connecting more people in our communities with quality jobs and career opportunities. How do you think about Joby's role in doing this? And would you continue to work with COPA to expand opportunities for people in your community? You have 2 minutes.
Okay. We've talked just before this about housing, and workforce and housing are extremely linked. I had some prepared remarks, but I feel moved to speak from my heart today, so bear with me here. Joby's growing in the region, in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties, and creating a lot of high-paying, family-sustaining jobs right here in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. What we're committed to doing at Joby is ensuring that we have the mechanisms in place, the programs, the partnerships, and the training to ensure that as many of those jobs as possible go to the locals who already live here in this region. If large businesses come into the region and create jobs and relocate people from other places for those jobs, those housing issues we talked about today will only get worse, and we know that. So we can't let that happen. I'm so grateful for our partnership with COPA and COPA member organizations like Maria Elena mentioned, who have helped us fill our apprenticeship opportunities in manufacturing with local people who are hardworking and willing to learn, and we're willing to train them. We're rolling out and laying the groundwork for foundations to train new pilots, new aircraft maintenance technicians for jobs as we grow in the region. And we're committed to investing in the training of the local workforce.
Finally, COPA would like to request a meeting with Joby Aviation founder and CEO, Joby Weaver, to discuss or share interest in the prosperity of the region. Would you confirm for us that this meeting will happen?
Absolutely. Joe Ben and the rest of our organization is committed to this partnership. And I want to ask all of you COPA members to think about the effect that Jovi can have on this region, but more importantly, the effect that other employers can have on this region if they're willing to invest in the local workforce. And so I encourage you, as we work together, to help us ensure that there's the right grant funding, the right government incentives to incentivize those employers, not just Jovi, but the rest of the employers in the region, to invest in the workforce, to hire people who may not be qualified for that job today, but can be qualified in 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year with the right training. So I'm asking all of you to be committed to that as well.
Reaching out to COPA with a date when we can meet with your CEO?
Absolutely, we're working on a date already.
Our third and final issue is the response to the terrible flooding of biblical proportion that occurred in Pajaro in early spring, where we have a member institution, Assumption Catholic Church.
Feeling Johnny Elizabeth, yes, 20 years of power, and it's beautiful to see all these counties, Monterey Bay, Santa Cruz, and San Benito County. Thank you for being here with us today. So, my name is Maria Rocha. I'm a member of Assumption Church in Pajaro. And in March of this year, the Pajaro levee broke, as many of you know, sending flood waters carrying through our community and taking more than 1,500 families out of their homes. So there's a lot of work to do. So let's start by hearing some of the stories today. We're going to have Deacon Chava share with us his story.
Mi nombre es el diácono Salvador López y vengo de la parroquia de Nuestra Señora de la Asunción en Pájaro, y hasta hoy día estamos nosotros fuera, nuestra comunidad fuera del templo. Se nos ha dañado el templo y estamos fuera en carpas. Es un poco, o diría demasiado estresante pensar que es la segunda vez que me toca a mí experimentar esto mismo. El 11 de marzo de 1995 experimenté, y a hoy día es la segunda vez. Es extremadamente difícil el tomar decisiones, en pensar en la comunidad, más aún como padre de familia también es estresante porque hay que tomar decisiones rápidas en estos momentos de que nos avisan que el río está por desbordarse. Se ha desbordado y estamos fuera. Un mes estuve con una hermana en una casa pequeña, mi esposa y mi hija. Como nosotros somos ya un poco jovencitos, un poco mayores de edad, no fuimos a los lugares que podríamos estar, por ejemplo, terrenos de la feria, algún otro lugar, por la edad. Hoy día seguimos fuera, estamos en un hotel, aún todavía no podemos regresar a casa porque está inhabitable. La aseguranza que hemos tenido, mes y medio, casi 2 meses, y hasta hoy día no nos ha dado su veredicto, digamos, de cubrir la casa, los daños. El contratista ha hecho una evaluación de los daños sobre $82,000 o más, y estamos esperando todavía hasta hoy día. Nos unimos a este grupo de COPA porque siempre hemos sido solidarios con ellos, y no solamente en estos momentos que estoy experimentando mi comunidad y mi familia, sino que este grupo trabaja por el bienestar de nuestra comunidad. Esperemos pues de que esto se remedie, esto del río, que no sea que cada vez que se nos vengan tormentas estamos temerosos. Gracias por su apoyo.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you, Chava.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Reyes, de Mujeres, líder de COPA y de Mujeres en Acción. Como trabajadora comunitaria pude ir a ayudar en cuanto supimos de las familias que estuvieron en el albergue de Watsonville. Mi experiencia con la inundación de Pajaro fue algo que me hizo recordar el tiempo de la pandemia. Cuando llegamos en el albergue, las personas nos compartían que no estaban preparados para un desastre así. Habían personas que no hablaban español, solo mixteco. Les pudimos apoyar con la interpretación, también por la barrera de la tecnología. Muchos de ellos no saben leer, mucho menos usar una computadora para buscar recursos. Escuchamos muchas veces que las personas del sistema piensan que los hijos deben de hacer el trabajo de un intérprete en vez de ellos de buscar la solución. Muchos de ellos perdieron todo. La mayoría de ellos eran trabajadores agrícolas de bajos ingresos. Ahora están preocupados cómo pagar su renta si no hay mucho trabajo. ¿Cómo podemos trabajar juntos para levantar la comunidad de Pajaro? Gracias.
Thank you. The problem in Pajaro is one of the generational systematic disinvestment. People in our community have been ignored and sidelined for years because the majority of us are low income and undocumented. We are the neglected area of Monterey County. With most recent flooding, we were faced with a simple choice. Allow others to keep making decisions on our behalf or organize ourselves to do something. And you know COPA, right? We choose to organize. When the Board of Supervisors was considering a rent moratorium for flood victims, we organized ourselves and advocated to pass the rent moratorium. We walked the community to see how our neighbors were doing and reminded them of their rights. We held a community meeting in our parish with nearly 200 residents, and we heard their frustration, the lack of support, and devastating realities these families are facing. We identified new leaders and started thinking together about what our future should look like. We met with Supervisor Church to share what we have heard and work together to make sure those affected are in the room when decisions are made. Most recently, we host and chair a town hall meeting with Supervisor Church and county staff as we started down the road to recovery. And we're not done yet. And so here we are with Supervisor Church.
Yes, gracias Maria. My name is Olga Diaz, COPA leader in Assumption Church. And I'd like to invite Supervisor Church, and he's already up here at the podium. Thank you. Ready to answer, and I hope it's a yes. COPA fought for the creation of VIDA project, which created over 100 community health worker positions, which we heard about earlier today, helping save lives of hundreds of low-income and vulnerable communities who lack the access to medical resources and information in Monterey County. When the flood occurred, some of the first responders in the shelters were community health workers, like Claudia, who we heard earlier, helping interpret in Mixteco and assist families in distress. They are trusted community members, willing and able to do the work. First question, Supervisor Church. Will you work with COPA to convene a meeting with Monterey County officials to discuss directing community health workers to Pajaro and survey residents by household about their unmet needs?
Always, always, and always. It is always a pleasure to work with COPA, and as Maria, I'll make sure Maria was still there. As Maria had said earlier, we had a community meeting a couple of weeks ago, and over 200 people turned out at that, and it was with the assistance of COPA, we helped run this meeting. We gained a lot of information from that. People spoke from the audience, and we took notes. People expressed their concerns on post-it notes that they put on a wall, and we have collected those. We distributed many cards with place for some people to put their names, the contact information, and what they were concerned about or what their needs were. We collected those. We collected over 100 of those, and my staff has reached out to those people. To a handful of them, couldn't read the numbers on, but almost all of them we've been able to reach out with. And that is what is important, because we can't begin to solve problems unless we know what they are. We believe by collecting this information, we can get together with COPA, and there's also information from FEMA, which has gone out into the communities and also collected some aggregate information about many of the concerns. So we take all of this together. We'd be very happy to sit down, look at what the concerns are that might still need to be filled, what the needs are that might need to be filled, and work with addressing what other needs there might be still out there.
So was that a yes to direct community health workers to go assess the community in Pajaro about their unmet needs? Was that a yes?
With yes, oh yeah, absolutely. We'll be happy to sit down with you and talk about that. Work on that. Work on that. Going after and what information we want. Yes.
Okay, I have one more question, Supervisor Church. As we heard from the stories, this is not the first time that the levy has breached. One of the resonating concerns and questions we hear is what will be done for this to not happen again. What are the short and long-term next steps, actions you are taking to help Pajaro residents recover from the flood? Will you continue working with COPA leaders to provide the needed resources to Pajaro residents affected by the recent flood?
Absolutely working with COPA and anybody else we can to help the people in Pajaro not to have this happen again. And I'm hoping that this will never happen again. It has happened, not just in '95, but it's been a failure for forever. From this levee was built in 1949 and it flooded just 6 years later in 1955. So it's never been built right. And to just address more of the long term on that first, there is now, for the first time, and over the 60, 70 years of failure to go through and rebuild this levee, there is over $400 million that has been put together by state and federal funds to put this up so that it will not happen again. It will strengthen the levee, it will enlarge it so it can take more water. Just to understand how badly it was built. It was built using sandy soil. Sandy soil does not hold back water. In the short term, the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which owns that levee, is going to be coming in this year and fill the 3 spots in it that broke. They apparently are finally hearing us. And they will be out there to do this, and we'll start next year then on the permanent solutions for that levee. In terms of the short term, one of the most important things that I learned, and what we were collecting from information from this town hall meeting, is that there are resources out there, but not everybody knows where they are. We are trying to put that information out. There's resources from Monterey County. We have recently approved $728,000 in funds for low-income people, not just for rent, but for clothing, for whatever their needs may be. But there's a lot of resources out there from some community-based organizations too, and those are the things that we want to go through and make sure people are aware of all the resources.
Thank you, Supervisor Church. We look forward to working together with you.
20 years ago, we made a covenant to work together towards social justice. Together, as members of 20 different schools, churches, unions, and nonprofits, so Jack Kirby will lead us as we renew that covenant.
Hello, I'm Jack Kirby, official leader from St. Mary's by the Sea in Civic. What does covenant look like in the real world? Pastor Vicky told us that a covenant is more than a contract, that it includes a commitment to a relationship. COPA leaders talk about organizations being in covenant with each other, that we value the mix of institutions in COPA, and we aspire to support each other in this work. Let me give you a personal example of covenant. I think of myself as in covenant with Maria Elena Manso. We have had very different life experiences, and we probably would never have encountered each other in our daily lives. But we were co-chairs at COPA's founding assembly in 2003, and we've worked closely together for almost 20 years. We try to meet at least once a month, face to face. We trust each other. We can ask each other questions that many people would think were impolite. If she asks me to do something, to attend a meeting, or to work on a proposal, or to get together to think through a problem, you can bet that I will do everything I can to be there. I'll inconvenience myself. I'll turn my schedule on its head in order to do what she's asked me to do. And she's done the same thing for me. COPA institutions aspire to the same kind of commitment to each other. We each commit to paying our dues. We commit to identify and develop leaders from our own institutions who are interested in this work. We don't just trade issues. We don't say, I'll work on housing if you work on healthcare. We support each other based on the relationship, because of the relationship. Leaders from Castroville and Seaside came down to help us at St. Mary's when there was a housing academy there a month or so ago. People from St. Mary's attended the house meetings when Pajaro flooded. We went up to Pajaro and sat in those meetings and heard those stories face to face. I'd like to ask a leader from each of the COPA institutions, those of you who have been asked to be here for our making our public covenant together, to come to stand at the bottom of the stage, stand in front of the stage. So I was just saying, COPA institutions at our best try to commit to each other's welfare and development. These are representatives. These are the COPA institutions that have delegates here today. They're here to symbolize their commitment to COPA, that they're a part of this covenant. And I understand that some institutions want to make specific, particular commitments today to show that they want to be part of this covenant. And so I would ask them to come up to the microphone, please.
I'm Pastor Christine Johnson from St. Mary's by the Sea. I'm Pastor Christine Johnson from St. Mary's by the Sea in Civic Grove. We have been proud family members of COPA and are renewing our commitment to COPA by paying our 2023-24 dues early.
I'm Leslie Connor with Santa Cruz Community Health, and we are very pleased to renew our commitment and partnership with COPA. And this year we are making a contribution in the form of our dues in the amount of $25,000.
So the suggested dues for COPA institutions is 1% of the institution's operating budget. This year, Unity of Monterey Bay has voted to increase our percentage to 1.5%. And so we also have a check here for the 23-24 year dues that we're paying in advance. And so it's $1,800 plus a $600 gift from our COPA team.
I am Stephen Hendrickson from St. Stephen's Lutheran Church in Santa Cruz, and we contribute our commitment to COPA with a check for $500.
Mi nombre es María Rodríguez de Mujeres en Acción y también tenemos un cheque para COPA contribuyendo en este próximo año nuestra membresía con COPA. $5,000 aportamos a COPA.
We have a number of guest institutions here today who are considering joining our work. I'm told that we have some announcements from them. Really, I'm told. They're hesitant.
Hola, mi nombre es Laura Valdés, soy miembro de la parroquia de Nuestra Señora del Refugio en Castroville y recientemente nos juntamos con nuestro párroco Rodrigo y nos confirmó que el próximo, este otoño, seremos miembros de COPA.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Sánchez de la comunidad de King City y también vengo a hacerle este hermoso anuncio que vengo de King City, ¿verdad? Anunciando pues estoy un poco emocionada como siempre, ¿verdad? Solo quiero decirles que gracias al apoyo de nuestro párroco Germán Rodríguez vamos a ser miembros en septiembre 11, vamos a ser miembros de COPA. Muchísimas gracias.
Good evening, my name is Barbara Meister. I'm with Holy Cross Catholic Church. Our plan is to go back and have a meeting with our team of 30 people here, along with Father Manny and our Finance Council, with the hope to join COPA very soon.
Wow. So what that means is we will start next fiscal year with 25 COPA institutions. And that represents a dues commitment of $95,000. So I'm going to ask that the COPA leaders here on the floor who are representing their institutions in this covenant, join hands with the person next to you and raise your hands in the air. And I'm going to ask that you in the audience applaud to celebrate their commitment to COPA Day.
Thank you, Jack. In COPA, we don't just organize people, we also organize money. Let's hear more about that from Mary Lytle Walsh.
Lytle Walsh, right. I'm Mary Lytle Walsh from Resurrection Catholic Church in Aptos. That membership dues base we just committed to is the most important part of COPA's budget. It demonstrates our ownership of the organization and our sustainability in the future. Foundation grants are also valuable to COPA, allowing us to hire new organizers and expand our work. We want to thank some of the foundations that have made recent investments in COPA. The Santa Cruz Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Monterey County, the James Irvine Foundation, the Catholic Campaign for Human Development, the California Endowment, Sunlight Giving, the Latino Community Foundation, and the Packard Foundation. Let's show our appreciation. Another way that COPA leaders raise money and strengthen the sustainability of our budget is by raising money from individual donors. This includes leaders like me, who make our own regular contributions to COPA, but also go out to business and community leaders outside of the organization seeking an investment. Now, I have never done anything like this before, and the thought of asking for money scared me. It did not come naturally to me. I grew up being taught that asking for money was begging or seen as being impolite. The first time I was in a COPA meeting with a potential investor, my voice shook. I was nervous and unsure. But COPA trained me to understand that money is an expression of our values and what we believe in. And I believe in COPA. And I have seen how these investments have transformed myself, other leaders, and our communities. Now I can converse with people in power without my voice shaking. I have seen how valuable these relationships are to COPA, and not only because of the financial investment. COPA learns a lot by listening to the interest of local business and civic leaders, and we hope that we have some impact on them when we share our stories and our concerns. We begin to see that we have shared interest in the prosperity of our regions. On May 31st, COPA will convene a group of these people to deepen our relationships and also kick off what we are calling COPA Catalyst Fund. This fund will help COPA expand our leadership development work and respond to the biggest challenges facing our region. Just as yeast is the catalyst that raises the bread dough, our catalyst investment will grow COPA and exact healthy changes in our communities. All of us in COPA have a role to play in the long-term sustainability of the organization, whether that is by working within our institutions to organize the dues, making our own individual contributions, or identifying and working with potential investors outside the organization. We can all do our part. Let's make sure we can be here 20 years from now, celebrating COPA's 40th!
Thank you, Mary. One of the things that Mary let us do is work on the leadership development. Sue Rosenwald and Adriana Molina have more to say about that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sue Rosenwald, and I'm a leader at Unity of Monterey Bay. For 60 years, I never had a public voice. I voted. Then the 2016 election happened. Somehow, I had to get involved. During this time, COPA was introduced to my church. We had no idea how it worked, but we showed up to meetings. We listened and we learned. I continue to be so touched by the relationships I'm building. I've developed a strong bond, public bond, with leaders from Castroville, Salinas, Watsonville, people I would never have known in my life. I will continue through one-on-one conversations to learn about the needs of my fellow COPA leaders and show up when I'm asked for support. With COPA's guidance and nurturing, I'm taking on more and more responsibility. I'm organizing civic academies on affordable housing and doing accountability sessions with my fellow leaders for officials running for elections. I have found my voice in public life.
Buenas noches a todos, mi nombre es Adriana Molina, líder de COPA y Nuestra Señora del Refugio. Y aquí mi hija Génesis también está presente. Por mucho tiempo me dediqué a trabajar en el campo, en el condado de Merced. En el 2011 me mudé a este condado. Después de eso me dediqué solamente a mi familia. Luego encontré la organización COPA que me ayudó a descubrir el potencial y liderazgo en mí. Algo que siempre quise fue tener una oportunidad de ir a la escuela, tener una profesión, soñaba con trabajar en el área de salud. Y ahora, gracias a COPA, ese sueño se realizó. Pude obtener un trabajo como trabajadora comunitaria, ayudando a la comunidad a mantenerse a salvo en el tiempo de COVID-19, que es, seguimos con esto. Y una vez que se logró obtener la vacuna del COVID, ayudamos a las familias en nuestro condado para que se pudieran vacunar. Y de esta manera, la cadena de infección disminuyó en el condado de Monterrey. Otro de los logros que he obtenido es que después de trabajar 5 largos años en nuestra institución, he logrado obtener el apoyo de nuestro sacerdote, pues él ha visto el inmenso trabajo que se ha hecho. Hemos organizado academias cívicas y hemos construido liderazgo. Hemos organizado academias cívicas consecutivamente junto con otras instituciones y de esta manera trabajamos el poder relacional, donde uno de los objetivos principales es identificar líderes potenciales para ayudar a desarrollar el liderazgo, líderes como ustedes y como yo. Con esto en mente, me complace presentar a los líderes de COPA que estamos enviando a la capacitación nacional del IAF. Claudia Reyes, de Mujeres en Acción. Luis Acevedo, de Nuestra Señora del Refugio. María Rodríguez, de Mujeres en Acción. Felipe Morales y Ana Luz Acevedo, de Nuestra Señora del Refugio.
We want to give all our leaders opportunities to grow in this work. We're planning some local trainings. These trainings are opportunities to strengthen our relationships with each other, and it also gives us a chance where we learn about the work and how to operate within this tradition of broad-based organizing. So with this in mind, we're proposing 2 local trainings on COPA Organizing 101 for anyone interested. In Santa Cruz County, the date is August 19th. In Salinas, the date is August 26th. Now, in addition to those trainings, we want to issue a challenge to everybody here in this room. If any institution or group of institutions here tonight can get 40 sign-ups, COPA will come and do the training at your institution. What do you say, huh? So Adriana at Our Lady of Refuge and myself at Unity of Monterey Bay, we have pledged to get at least 40 training people from our institution, so we're going to do this training together, right?
Sí. Por último, queremos anunciar un entrenamiento de 2 días con la Diócesis de Monterrey sobre el reconocimiento al extranjero en febrero 2024.
So, Supervisor, ask you have been a key ally for COPA, especially in the development of Esperanza Care and with our organizing during the pandemic. Thank you, and can you share more about your perspective on the relationship we have with developing together?
Yes, I can share. There is such tremendous power in the relationships among people organized by COPA, and I want to acknowledge and thank COPA for your work helping the County of Monterey effectively organize programs like Esperanza Care that provides 4,500 Monterey County residents with access to a doctor. You did that. You're the reason we have that program. I want to thank COPA for bringing the idea for VITA, the Community Health Worker Program, to the County of Monterey.
You are the reason why thousands of lives were saved during COVID, because we were able to hire community health care workers and create a program to meet the community needs. Thank you. And finally, I also want to thank you for the house parties that you organized. I had the honor of being invited to a house party in 2020, and then when I was elected to the Board of Supervisors, I was able to work with COPA to organize house parties for county department heads, so that the county leaders who were making decisions about how to respond to COVID could hear directly from you about your experience. And that coordination and collaboration and communication changed the decisions that were happening in the county. And I am forever grateful to COPA. Thank you.
Okay, so now, Bishop Garcia, would you mind? 20 years ago, Bishop Brian commissioned us to go to work to build the power 20 years ago. Would you renew that commission for us now?
Yes, I will make that renewal that Bishop Ryan did 20 years ago to continue our work with COPA and to build it and make it a stronger, effective tool here in our local area. I pledge that to you.
Anything you want to share with us?
Well, I have some words that will be in my commissioning, but no, I would just say that since, and I'm going to say this in a few moments, but I do think there's a great, as it's already been said, a power in people gathering and creating relationships that is so important. To be able for us, regardless of what religious affiliation or no affiliation, but just for the sake of building up the common dignity of the human person. And that's something that we have to continually work towards, because we're lacking that in our community. We're lacking that. We see the divisiveness, we see the hurt that we do many times because of the unknown. We're afraid to get together and sit at table and break bread and get to know each other, where we come from. And that's my hope, that as we work together, we begin to build those kind of relationships. And we're no longer a stranger, but as Bishop Ryan said in his opening prayer, it's the encounter. It's in the encounter that we really build up and we get to know each other and we can do great good for the common good. Friends of COPA, I would just like to say that some of you may know who I am and many of you may not know who I am, but I arrived to the Diocese of Monterey in January of 2019. And I came from the Diocese of Austin, Texas, a place where many people say everybody here is moving to. But I can tell you, being a resident there, I lived there and I worked as a priest for almost 35 years, that the issues that I see that I've encountered in my 4 years here, they are continually seeing build up there. The very same ones that you've already begun to address. When I served in Austin, I was in a parish in East Austin, Cristo Rey Catholic Church. And it was very engaged with 4 other East Austin parishes, mainly Latino parishes, 1 African American parish. And they were very involved in community organizing there in the city of Austin. And that's where I kind of got my lens, if you will, broadened into the work of what community organizing can do. I found then, and I find now, that the impact of community organizing can be a strong catalyst in addressing the social needs in the community that have been either overlooked, unnoticed, or at the very least, not a priority for those who are in positions of local civic leadership, but also at times in our own respective religious communities. It's very clear to me that there is a social dimension of the gospel that cannot be overlooked. The social dimension can make, as we know, some people in our own religious houses very uncomfortable. But that still doesn't change the need for us to apply it to our everyday lives. The gospel mandates us to constantly seek justice for all, especially for the marginalized and the poor and vulnerable in our midst. It cries out to us to work for the removal of the symptoms and the causes of poverty and injustice. But I believe that every one of us is called to do that, and called to do everything that we can to make the lives of our sisters and brothers a little bit better. We're called to give them hope, but not just in a spiritual way, but in concrete ways, tangible ways that they can see that we care and that they matter. Not everyone has a voice or feels courageous enough or strong enough to step forward and make their voices known. And that's where you and I come into the picture. We're called to do everything that we can to uphold the dignity of human life and the fundamental dignity of every single individual. Since my arrival in 2019, we've had various crises that everyone in our area along the coast, and at least for me, a bishop of 4 dioceses, from Santa Cruz, San Benito, Monterey, and San Luis Obispo. We've seen and we've had to deal with the COVID pandemic. We've had to deal with the fires of the Santa Cruz Mountains and along the central coast. We've had to deal with the recent floodings of the Pajaro, but also the Salinas River, and the communities and people that it has affected. These are just some of the disasters that we've had no control in how they've come about necessarily, maybe not even how they began, but we've all tried to respond in our own unique way to the people in need. And as these crises were unleashed upon our neighbors, everyone scrambled to ask the question, Bishop, how can we help? It's through these events like this where community organizing and especially partnering with many other local entities and even with religious houses where we can work together to affect positive change in our local communities. Also, I must say a word of thanks to Tim McManus and the other COPA leaders who helped our diocese in Monterey in setting up training sessions or listening sessions to help answer Pope Francis's call for this new synod. And he wanted to be able to hear the voices of the people that are seated in the pew or the people who are not present. And so many of you helped us in various locations in our diocese to create those listening sessions, to help us to understand what does it mean, again, to allow someone to verbalize what they're feeling, what they're seeing, for them to be able to say, this is how I see the church today, but this is where I think the church needs to be. You assisted all of us, COPA, in helping us to be able to create, in a sense, for me, as a new bishop in the area, a platform to hear what are the concerns that people have in their particular churches. So I commend you, COPA, as an organization, and all of you who have been part of these last 20 years for the impact that you have made on many people's lives. Many of them perhaps have already gone to the Lord. As great as this is, you know as well as I that, as I said before, our work is not done. So we must continue to strive to strengthen our relationships with one another, work at listening to each other, and especially those who find themselves confused, lost, desperate, and fearful to the things that are going on around them. My sisters and brothers, I pray that we may have the courage to do as the Lord instructs us. From the book of the prophet Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, you've heard it many times. To to act justly, to love tenderly, and to walk humbly with our God. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Garcia, for a message that we all need to hear for our time. I want to make something clear, and that is COPA doesn't do events. An event is a one-time occurrence that is over when it's over.
Yeah, you're right. COPA does action. And action is about relationship. Coming together to be organized people with a shared plan. And action is not the end of our work together. It is only the beginning. Today's success will be determined by what we do coming out of here. And tonight, we will begin by making commitments to each other about that. When you came, you received you receive a commitment card. So in there, it has several options that say, I would like to join my institution's COPA core team. I would like to have a one-on-one meeting with a COPA leader or organizer. I would like to attend a COPA leadership and organizing training in Monterey County on August 26th. I would like to attend a COPA leadership and organizing training in Santa Cruz on September 9th. I would like to join the housing team, or I would like to join the Pajaro strategy team. So we're going to ask you that you fill out those cards, because that's how we get back to you. So you have it there, you have a pen, and make sure that you give it to your captain.
Yogi Berra infamously once said, it ain't over till it's over. But I can guarantee you we're at the cusp of being over. So before I introduce you someone who's going to close us with a closing prayer, I want to point out something I think that's illuminating. 4th century mystic by the name of Saint Ephraim said, God has 1,000 names in which none of them are adequate. And so I just want to say that whatever your faith traditions may be, or that you may not have any faith, but what's important is that we are all on this same boat together. John Wesley, who is the founder of the Methodist movement before the American Revolution, who came and planted the seed, he famously said, I don't give two hoots what your faith tradition is. I just want to know, will you lend me your hand so that we can join hands together to work towards common good. So in that spirit, I would like to introduce our next person, Father Herman Rodriguez from St. John the Baptist Catholic Church. Close us in prayer. Let's all stand, those who are able.
Loving and merciful God, in this moment of prayer, we gather as one community, united in faith, to honor and bless the work of COPA. We thank you for the vision and dedication of all those who have come together from diverse backgrounds to work towards justice, peace, and the common good. We pray for the leaders and members of COPA that you may grant them wisdom, compassion, and discernment in their endeavors. May their work be guided by the values of compassion, empathy, and solidarity, reflecting the teachings and life of Jesus Christ and the rich traditions of everyone's faith. As we conclude this prayer, we entrust the future of COPA into your loving hands. May their work continue to touch the lives of countless individuals, fostering a culture of peace, understanding, and respect. Grant them the strength to face the challenges ahead, knowing that you are their constant source of guidance and support. In your holy and precious name we pray, amen. Amen. God bless you.
So we accomplished a lot tonight. We made commitments to ourselves. We heard commitments from the official elected and business leadership. So we also committed to going back to our institutions and talk among ourselves in COPA and come back to the elected official about the bond measure that is coming up. So we'll go back to the institution, talk about it, and come back with a response. So this is it. So everyone make sure that your interpretation equipment, you turn it back. Make sure that you turn your commitment card to the captain of your institution captain.